What's up, chat? How's it going, everybody? Happy Monday. Grab your copy. We're doing some Mayhem today. That's the name of the new name of the Monday stream. We're gonna call it Monday Mayhem. I got a little logo made up and everything. It's all up in there. So pretty exciting. I actually wasn't sure if I was gonna do a stream this week because there weren't any GTs this weekend. Not a single one. There was one that I found, a 5-round event, that it was for incursion games, so 1,000 points. That's exciting. We're not going to talk about that one. So no best armies in 40k this week, and no normal Monday show. But here's what we got going on. I've gone through the small tables. So what we're going to be looking at today is little baby 40k. So 3-round RTTs, and we're going to be looking through undefeated lists from those RTTs. Whoa, hello.
Ryan G donated $10 through Super Chat. Could we look at the top list from my local LGS, Titan Games and Hobbies December RTT and Timonier, Maryland? Top list is using New Guard Detachment but is very interesting. Also 4th place is Nuge.
It's Nuge. It's Nuge. It's New Grey Knights. Yeah, absolutely. That is in my notes. I do have that one written down. And we can jump into that one first as well if we'd like to do that. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna look at undefeated lists from 3-round events, and we're gonna take a peek at Grotsmas detachments that are doing well. We're gonna take a peek at some meta trends. We can see some factions that have like kind of a wide proportion of undefeated results. Orcs kind of like just coming out like out of nowhere and just killing a bunch of people here. So that's pretty cool. Ork's doing pretty well, but we'll also see if we can find some other trends here as well. So yeah, that's what I thought we would do, and hopefully people are excited about it. Hey, Damned Legion with the re-membership, 4 months. Thank you for jumping into and supporting the channel there, buddy. I appreciate that. Some housekeeping stuff. After this weekend, I will be live over at the Everwinter GT. So Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be 5 rounds of 40k. I'm live streaming it over here. There will be a redirect after this show.
Dominator62 donated $5 through Super Chat. How's the World Eaters detachment doing? It looks busted.
Dominator, thank you for the super chat. I don't think that we have any World Eaters to talk about. I think that the weird thing about the World Eaters detachment, and talking to a bunch of World Eaters players about this, I think that there's a general consensus that it's basically like a side grade from the Berserker Warband. Because you can be like, oh man, you get like extra blessings of corn, you know, look at all that, that's cool, you know, out of activation movement and stuff like that. But the level of damage output that you have compared to Berserker Warband is significantly lower. So, it's a win, you know, you win some, you lose some, right? Extra blessings of corn are amazing. It's hyper flexible. You're going to be able to, make your specific units, your Vessels of Wrath, like do whatever you need to at the time. However, on the flip side, you're much less sort of just consistent than Berserker Warband is. So I think that it's mostly just it's a side grade from the original. I don't know if anybody is necessarily gonna be prioritizing Vessels of Wrath over Berserker Warband. But I do think that if you want greater flexibility in exchange for damage, then you'll trade over for that one. It seems like to be the consensus. We'll see if somebody breaks it in the future. That could definitely happen. It seems like right now it's like kind of just a good detachment because it just gives you more options, which is cool. The problem that I have with it though is it doesn't really incentivize you to play anything different. You're mostly just playing 8-bound again and stuff and Berserkers, so it's okay. We can't all be winners, I guess. You don't have as many opportunities to bring back Angron. Yeah, I think it might be an Angron-less list because it has almost literally no synergy with Angron at all. Basically, all of its effects are like or like exclude Angron. He can't be a Vessel of Wrath, for example, because he's an epic hero who isn't in a unit with a champion. So yeah, so that Meta Monday hasn't happened in weeks. Oh, it's nice to know somebody misses it. Yeah, we've been live with Grotsmas stuff for too long, but also, you know, it's weird to talk about GTs in this format because it's like a very much of an interim period this December. So not only were GTs petering out towards the end of the month just for the holidays, but also most of the GTs that happened were using outdated rules. So I was like, Spending a lot of time sort of dissecting those isn't really that useful. But next week, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled shows because we will start to see GTs jump back up there. Reaper's Wager, we do have some Reaper's Wager going on. Was there a GT this weekend? No. There were no GTs this weekend. So other stuff that's going on, chat, I will be live after this. We have a Pod Finals game going on with Darren, Demons versus Adeptus Mechanicus, which should be fun. I think it has a pretty good chance to be literally the last game of Warhammer 40k ever played on the planet Earth in the universe in which we inhabit, that uses 3-inch deep strikes. Because we got delayed by the holidays, so we weren't able to play it previously, and then the update happened, and it was a previous event that ended like a week or two ago. So it's I don't know, it'll be fun. It should be a good time. We can talk about some Grotsmas stuff over there. So yeah, I think with that, we will probably dive in, and I know that Mr. Hippie Hunter wants us to talk about some Titan games over here, and talk about some Bridgehead Strike. Alright, I'm gonna fix my camera a little bit. Hopefully I look a little bit better. Here we go. Yeah, so mostly the event results that I've taken down for this week are 10 plus players or above 10 players. It gets a little funny to jump into the really small RTTs, like the 5 to 8 player events. I actually won an RTT this weekend. I was playing basic bitch Ultramarines, but that was also only 5 players. So it's like, we're not going to talk about that one. It's not a huge sample size, and obviously that becomes very, very contingent on the exact players who are there. They will bring back 3-inch deep strikes only to remove them at some point. Yeah, the 11th edition will come out, and everyone will be able to 3-inch deep strike, and then they'll remember why they removed it, and they're like, "Oh, this makes the game really annoying," like they do every time. So yeah, let's talk about some Astra Militarum. Oop, hello. Sorry, chat. I was making thumbnails earlier for my Everwinter events, so I had some stuff left over there. So Tyler Precipio 3-0 today. Is this Bridgehead Strike? This looks like it is Combined Regiment. I think this is actually Combined Regiment, chat. Yeah, I don't believe that we have the new detachment here, unless we are proxying. But this does look like a regular list, and I can't tell. So we're going to assume that we're playing regular Militarum here. Yeah. So sometimes this is wrong, chat. Occasionally with the new stuff, the players will build lists before the army builders get updated. And so then they have to proxy the... they have to proxy which detachment that they're playing in.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. Yes, it's using the new detachment.
It was using the new detachment? Okay. Well, I'll have to take your word for it. Because they didn't note it at all. So oftentimes, we had actually a discussion about in the Discord, because some people were playing the new Grotsmas stuff, but it didn't have it in New Recruit yet. So they're like, what do I do? Literally, you can just take the text export from your army builder, and you can paste it into your Best Coast Pairings like list submission form, and that's just a text document. So you can just go in and delete Combined Regiment and type in Bridgehead Strike, and then manually add your enhancements if you brought any. It doesn't appear that we did bring any enhancements whatsoever, so we don't have like the cool triplicate order effect, for example, for our Militarum Tempestus. But we are running Lord Solar Leontis still, as well as Gaunt's Ghosts, and as we've talked about when we talked about Bridgehead, I think Gaunt's Ghosts are basically like a Windmill Slam auto include in this detachment, probably. Given that the detachment is so focused on end of movement phase orders, because you want to be issuing orders on the more units, as many units as possible that are coming out of reserve or transports, in order to get that detachment ability. Gaunt's Ghosts allow you to do that every turn, and they can issue orders to your regiment stuff. which is great. Obviously, super sweet. We have Lord Solar Leontis in here. We do have a platoon command squad, so we are still running the Leontis Vox Master Vox combo, I assume, because we do have infantry squads for him to join into. Could also join into the Catachan Jungle Fighters, I suppose.
Ryan G donated $5 through Super Chat. Also, only one of the 5 strats is Scion locked. Also, detachment rule applies to all infantry.
Ryan G, thank you so much for the additional super chats. Yeah, the thing is that it's much easier and you get more interesting combos, I think, out of the Tempestus Scion stuff, which is why you're so, like, I think people are generally so, in on the Tempestus Scions or the army. The interesting thing about this is how many tanks that we're bringing as well as a backline here. But I do think Lord Solar is going to be probably pretty valuable for the list just because it has so many stratagems it wants to be using. It's probably in for like 2-ish stratagems per turn, per round, just by uppy-downying its units and buffing them, right? So being able to consistently get the extra CP there is super huge, too. I do wonder if there's play for Ursula Creed as well, but it looks like we're not taking her today. So it's 1 Tempestus command squad, a Premier Psyker, and a platoon command squad. 10 Catachan Jungle Fighters, 2 units of 10 infantry. We have 2x5 Tempestus Scions, Attilan Rough Riders, a Basilisk Hellhound, Rogaldorn, Scouts, Torox Prime. So we have the Torox Prime Wombo combo. I have a whole video about this little thing, by the way, that I made months and months ago, because I was really excited about it ages ago. And then almost immediately after I made that video, they buffed it by like grammatically discounting Scions. And then also now it just got a whole detachment to work with it. So this little guy he can only embark Tempestus infantry and their characters, their attached characters, but he has fire support, so he can give you wound rerolls when you disembark from him. It's the pretty classic combo. We then attach 5 Tempestus Scions plus the Tempestus command squad into the unit plus the Primera Psyker. The Primera Psyker doesn't get the +1 to wound bonus because he's not he's not keyworded. But what we do get is we get the wound rerolls from him. He also benefits from the orders on the unit, so he can get +1 to hit. And he can benefit from the unit getting hit rerolls and for being a Tempestus Scion unit, shooting at someone on an objective. And then we can also get him what's the word? We can get him sustained hits as well from the Tempestor Prime. So basically what we're doing with this guy, it doesn't really matter if we're not getting our wound bonuses, but we are but we're looking at grabbing devastating wounds from the rerolls there for sure. So that is cool. And then the other thing about the Lord Solar Leontis in the list is that he's not super efficient. One of the reasons that it's a weird situation because you want to take you're incentivized to take the Tempestor Prime to get Battle Line Scions and +1 OC on Scions, right? For the keyword detachment rule. However, you lose out on the extra bonus command points from Lord Solar, and you also you're also not like Lord Solar is weirdly, he's not very good at running Scions because he's never in reserve, right? So if they're arriving at the end of the turn, he basically is always out of sequence to order them. However, he's really good at running tanks. So if you want to run a backline of heavy shooting, the tanks are the way to go. Now, the downside is if you are running Bridgehead Strike here, the tanks don't really have, I believe, like any synergy, which is a little unfortunate for the Rogaldorns because their strength characteristics tend to be kind of middling. They have a lot of multi-damage attacks, but the strength is not that great. We're not looking at Demolisher Cannon tank commanders here. So lacking lethal hits on those guys is going to be a big deal. We do have 2 units of Scout Sentinels in order to buff them. So we can give them rerolls, and then Lord Solar can issue orders to all 3 Rogaldorns every turn. We can strip cover from enemies with the Hellhound. So we have it's a ton of damage coming on from them regardless, but it is an interesting decision to take Bridgehead basically for almost solely the infantry combos. and just leaving the tank combos behind. To be fair, a lot like the only other thing that these guys would get besides lethal hits from Combined Regiment is like the -1 damage strat, which like
Lyle Dixon donated $2 through Super Chat. Only synergy for tanks is advance and shoot strat.
Yeah. They're trading that for like the -1 damage strat, which to be fair is probably, I mean, I don't know, I want to say it's too expensive, but it is a relatively corner case because it doesn't do anything against melee, and it is 2 CP, so you're oftentimes cash starved to use it. So I guess like you're not losing too much out of Combined Regiment, you mostly the lethal hits, but you are getting such huge bonuses for the infantry that's probably, I guess, still worth it on the crackback too there. You also can't regenerate the Scout Sentinels or the Tempestus Scions, so I guess that is a consideration as well. But we then have we have an Attilan Rough Rider squad to counterpunch for these guys, so they can come in and clear out stuff that's trying to gum up the tanks themselves. They're also just a nice utility unit, 60 points. So they can go to move 15 when you move them, which is pretty far. So they can get around corners and stuff, even if they are mounted instead of infantry. And then Basilisk to slow down stuff that's trying to engage the tanks. So we're basically like focusing on the tanks and the one Torox Prime combo to deal mass damage, and then the rest of the army is just basically like focusing very heavily on utility and scoring. So one of the games with the list, Gaunt's Ghost was used as a teleport order buff for Scions. Yep, that's the deal with them for sure. Scout Sentinels offset the lack of orders on tanks. Orders on tanks, but we have 3 orders for tanks. We have a Lord Solar to order the tanks. The rest of the army can be ordered by Gaunt's Ghosts and the Tempester command squad, and the platoon command squad. To be fair, you also get orders an order out of this guy too. Lord Solar can just drive the tanks around all by himself. We don't really even need any other help for them. To be fair. So interesting. It's an interesting list, chat. Yeah, it's interesting to see the Rogaldorns and not tank commanders. I guess we were valuing Lord Solar Leontis. He also gives you like the redeploy, which is good. So you can do like, he basically gives you the redeployment, like in the redeploy infantry enhancement that the detachment has for free, kind of. And he gives you that CP, which I guess we're valuing above the his cost. But you could almost cut like the platoon command squad if you're not that worried about it. If you're just taking more Tempestus command squads, and you do end up like recouping quite a few points if you just cut the Rogaldorns for tank commanders. But obviously, tank commander is much easier to kill, so you don't necessarily have the same level of kind of mid-board presence. These big Land Raider profiles that are just trundling around essentially. There's an auto include on any list. I don't know about that. I don't know about any list. He's definitely, now that he can't order literally anything, I think he has become much more niche. But he's still very good. He's certainly worth 150 points, definitely. All right, yeah, we want to talk about the Grey Knight list. It did go 2-1. We can take a quick peek at Genestealers. Let's keep with undefeated for a second here, and then we can move over to the Grey Knight list. Ricky Colors over here rocking a host of Ascension. So no new Tyranid detachment this time, no final day. But we have a Benefactus double Kellermorph for some utility, double Primus, 1 chink in their armor for a lethal, and we have a lethal off the Benefactus too. Reductus Saboteur ×2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 Acolyte hybrids with flamers. 1, 2, 3x 10 20 neophyte hybrids, 1 10-man neophyte hybrid, a Goliath truck, Ridge Runners, 2 just mortar Ridge Runners, so we can get Crossfire and no Survey Augers, so just Crossfire on 2 separate units. 3 Goliath Rock Grinders, so we have a little bit of late game punching, and then also the transport for the Acolyte hybrids, and then 2 units of Pure Strange Genestealers to open up space for the Neophyte bricks to jump into. So it's a pretty classic. Ascension day. I think that what we're doing here, I have to remind myself what the new Cult Ambush point values are. Your recursion points. Because one thing you can do is just assume you're going to bring back tons and tons of 5-man Acolyte hybrid units, which gives you just like an immense amount of not only infantry sweeping, they're also not like super bad at punching in melee against light stuff and characters like at the end of the game, but also just gives you tons and tons of utility. Or we could just bring back like just huge numbers of neophyte hybrids as well. Oops. So you get 10 resurgent points, and the neophytes are 6 for 20. So you'd only get one of them, or you could bring back basically like an infinite number, like 5 units of 5 Acolyte hybrids. I guess we could do 2x5 Acolyte hybrids and a 20 man of neophytes is maybe the play there. So that you get the detachment ability a second time on one of these big heavy weapon bricks. So we can get that sustained hits ignore cover one additional time just to sort of finish off what the Alpha Strike doesn't quite kill. All right. Let's talk about these Grey Knights, chat. So this is Adi Guerrero, I guess. Ooh, this is a highly spaced list. So it's a Warpbane Task Force. We get the brand new detachment coming out of here. Castle Crow, Calder Drago, Brother Captain with Radiant Champion. Now the Brother Captain gets wound rerolls on his psychic weapon. So he gets it on his gun, and he can equip a Psy Cannon, so he's got okay shooting. But he also gets it on his melee attack. So he can trigger the additional mortal wound damage from Radiant Champion pretty consistently. And if you have the CP to Epic Challenge with him, he can do the funny thing where he just like beats up your opponent's unit and then dumps a bunch of additional mortal wounds on a character in their unit. This feels like it wants to be a Brotherhood champion enhancement, but as we talked about in my video, which I got wrong on stream, and it was very embarrassing, you actually can't like attach that guy to basically anything useful. So he's like a really trash data sheet, which is very sad because he's very cool. But the Brother Captain is definitely, I think, where this enhancement lives. We have Castellan Crow, as well as Calder Drago, as we talked about. Calder Drago feels like a windmill slam because getting hit rerolls plus lethal hits on Brotherhood Terminators is super good. You just need a way to deliver them, and Calder Drago is the way you do that. So we have 2 Brotherhood Terminator squads for these 2 characters to jump into. So we have delivery systems for the big punchy boys, and then a strike squad, which will give you objective secure, which could potentially allow you to convert more of the mid board, but also just, you know, allows you to teleport off of your backline pretty easily. The big benefit is that the army's super aggressive. This Warpbane Task Force tends to just push super hard because it wants to be controlling the center of the table to unlock its rerolls, and it's just ridiculously fast because you can basically use Purifier squads as like Bellicor. You can essentially get 6-inch deep strikes anywhere you want, like at least once per turn, and so having enough stuff to push up the
Matthew
table.
donated $17.77 through Super Chat. Wanna keep talking true line of sight? Help me tell the world why we can or cannot shoot through a vehicle. Lost, friendly or enemy. Insert, but surely I can see between the tank treads.
Nurgle Man, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Man, I was just thinking about a video topic where we talk about, like, you know, best and worst, like, Rules Changes in 10th edition. I was thinking, like, maybe we should talk about some true line of sight, dude. Yeah, the tank tread thing is real, man. Most tanks, in fact, do not block line of sight, which, you know, some people hate it, some people love it, but that is our bet, and we've made it too. The 2 that I know that you can't, at least in some circumstances, are I believe it's the bring up the models here. I believe that the Land Raider has solid tracks because it has this track armor on the bottom here. Do we have a spinny? Do we have a little spin to win on this guy? No. We don't have a rotation? Wild. Absolutely wild. But if I remember correctly, the Land Raider, if you are looking at it side on, is opaque, at least like for the majority of its hull. Obviously, you can see over the little corners, or under the little corners, but the treads, I believe, are fully blocked off. I believe the Baneblade is also the case for that one. I think that this just didn't do the thing. Bland. The Bland Blade. I believe that the Baneblade chassis also has like covered treads here. I don't know if there is a way to see the side on, but I think that that's the case. I think that the little wheel assembly actually blocks in the line of sight, like this little thing. But rhinos have like huge gaps between the wheels under the treads. So rhinos are like almost entirely transparent when you're on a single plane. They're also really short, so that's another thing to consider, is that oftentimes your models will be too large to be blocked, and they'll peek over the top. Like if you have, especially if you have like antennas or banners or something, oftentimes you'll peek up over the top and you'll be able to see. Oh, I might be wrong about the Baneblade here, chat. It looks like there is some gaps in the treads here. So that might be, I might be incorrect there. The Land Raider is, I guess, the only one that I know concretely does have line of sight blocking properties. Yeah, I think, I don't know. It's a whole can of worms. I do think it would be more interesting if vehicles blocked line of sight. I think that would make the game more tactical, or at least if they granted cover or something. I think what should probably be done, like were I to rebuild 10th edition, is take the silly like cover granting properties off of ruins, where any part of your miniature, any part of like with any part of it behind a ruin, but the fucking footprint of a ruin gives you cover, which is absolutely nuts. And I think it just like adds contention to the game, and I would give that to vehicles because I think that makes the game much more interesting. You can start to play like tank spearheads and things. And then if vehicles have a tough time getting cover because they have to be wholly inside a ruin or something like that, then I think it also makes the vehicles that much easier to kill, so you're then incentivized to play that way. I think that would be cool. The Baneblade literally does that, which is awesome, but I wish they did that to more vehicles too. I think it would be cool as well if they also sort of had line of sight blocking properties, as if they were obscuring at least to like infantry or something. I don't know. Because it does feel really gamey when you're like, I'm going to shoot you through your rhino that you're hiding behind, because I can see your pinky toe. But, you know, that's where we're at. Yeah. Oh, Lehman Russ's? Is it Oh, maybe I was thinking of Lehman Russ's. I bet that's what it was. Because there's definitely... Yeah, it's a Lehman Russ. Yeah. I got my Militarm tanks backwards in my head, chat. Yeah, it's the I was thinking of the Lehman Russ. I don't know. Man, the GW website is like fucked today. Are they doing like a sale or something? What's going on? Yeah, it's for sure the Lehman Russ. This thing's definitely blocked off. Chimera, I actually hadn't looked at. Yeah, it looks like Chimera has the same deal. It has these flush tracks. I guess be careful with... Let's look at the Lehman Russ again. What's up, Inky? Here's Inky. The one, like, funny thing is that... Okay, well, now you can see a tail. So that's cool. Hey, kitty cat. Oh, come here, you. You sit right there, and you have a nice cuddle. All right. The one thing is that like the treads actually look like they're not quite opaque. I think that the Space Marine treads are actually much different than the Militarum treads. This is fucked. This the website's just dead here. Because the Space Marine treads have like two offset, like the pattern is actually like blocks its way through. Whereas these ones, I think it looks like are just in parallel with each other. However, that's very difficult to prove, and I don't know if anybody would argue that they can see through tank treads. Seeing through wheel housings is much easier, but tank treads is a lot more difficult.
Blag Zombie
especially because
donated
any angle
$5 through Super Chat. It's my intent to place my Rhino so all the solid bits line up perfectly and you can't shoot through it.
Well, it's my intent to move like 1 degree to the side to be able to see through under the Rhino's perfectly lined up treads. Yeah. Is Warhammer still spelled wrong? I actually don't know. That's Warhammer Community. Damn it. What have we done? Yeah, for the longest time it said welcome to Warham. Yeah, I think they got rid of that splash page, so I guess it's fine now. Which is very funny. Amazing. Thank you for the super chat, Barg Zombie, by the way. Learned about shooting under rhinos recently when you lost a unit to it. Not your favorite rule, say the least. Yeah. Yeah, it's basically like the rule of thumb is that your models will almost literally never block line of sight for other models. Is essentially the rule of thumb. There are occasional corner cases where you have part of a model. Another example is like a Grid Unclean one. A Grid Unclean one's like a big solid blob, and those guys actually do block line of sight a little bit. Sometimes you'll have part of a model that's blocking one particular like avenue of line of sight, where it's like, oh, my banner is like blocking this window, but it's almost impossible to set up on purpose. It's really easy to play around in, and oftentimes it just comes up like naturally. Like occasionally, sometimes you'll just be like, hey, my fucking shield's in the way of this like little gap that you had to see line of sight. But that it's like something that you'll like find that just comes up naturally through gameplay. Inky is like directly beneath the camera right now, by the way. You might see her whiskers like popping up there. Oh, here she comes. She's about to bump into the camera with her butt. Whee! And so you should never play assuming that any of your models ever block line of sight to your other models. And it would be cool if your models had line of sight blocking properties. I think that would make the game more interesting and tactical, but they don't, so whatever. Imagine if Terminators could like block line of sight for infantry, you know? It's what we always say. Give Terminators a reason to exist rather than just being fodder for terrible detachments like Champions of Fenris. It'd be a shame if someone based their tanks with basing material to add dirt to the treads. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no! I've modeled my tank so that suddenly they block LOS. Although sometimes that comes back to bite you too. Like the interesting thing about line of sight in 10th edition is that it often will have, it gets reciprocal, right? So it's like, if you can't see me, then I also can't see you. So if your opponent's like, oh, I can't shoot that unit, so I won't, and then you're like, well, that also means I can't overwatch you or whatever. Or that also means that, like, in this case, I don't get cover or something. Like, that does happen quite a bit. Like, so, some units, like Magnus the Red, for example, are very wide and big, but they get both bonuses and weaknesses. Like, they can both be seen with those big sticks or see with those big sticks, so they get better line of sight themselves. So, at least in 10th edition, it doesn't feel quite as bad as it has in previous editions, because there are some bonuses to having like outstretched pieces and allowing for line of sight, partially because of how powerful Overwatch is. But it is what it is. The front of the Vindicator block line of sight. Yeah, I think that the Dozer Blade vehicles will, but only from the front. So it's only like those are only like, they're super small. They're like 3.5 inches wide. So it's very limited. And they're very short too, because the firstborn transports are like undersized. So it's a limited, it's a very limited like avenue that you're blocking for sure. Yeah, Baneblades give cover, which I wish all vehicles did. I think that was a cool role. And when they previewed that, which was like one of the first military tanks they previewed, I was like, oh, we're in for it now, folks. This is gonna be sick. A Baneblade leading groups of tanks, giving all each other cover. That'd be sick. No, only Hakai has it. Oh, okay. let's talk about this Grey Knight list. Let's finish our discussion here. We do have a Land Raider in this list. That's sick. A Land Raider Redeemer. I wonder if we are using that to deliver the Brotherhood Captain unit. Because he, unlike Kaldor Drago, he doesn't have a way to sort of get himself to the fight other than rapid ingressing. And that gives you another like sort of big unit that you can use in the middle of the table to sort of gain mid-board presence. And Redeemer itself doesn't benefit from rerolls that well, but you can give him reroll 1s to wound, I believe. Is that right? It's full wound rerolls if you're a purifier, but I think you could just give that stratagem to anyone for reroll 1s, which is actually not too bad of a strat on a unit that's firing as many auto wounding shots as the Land Raider Redeemer, or auto hitting shots, excuse me, as the Redeemer is. Yeah, any Grey Knight unit from your army that is wholly within your hallowed ground. Yeah, cool. We can also we have 2 interceptor squads. It talks about these guys when the detachment first dropped, but the interceptor squads are really good for converting over your kill zones. So they can, for example, take an objective, flip control of the set. Like they can, assuming you have like, let's say there's 3 objectives in the middle, and you have 1 of them, and you just run an intercessor squad. You just throw an intercessor squad to the center objective, in your movement phase. Then start of shooting phase, you control the center. Then you shoot with that intercessor squad and leave and get out of line of sight. However, level of control over objectives doesn't check again until the charge phase. So even if that interceptor squad is no longer on that objective, you still have hallowed ground in the middle of the table, which is really cool. So the interceptor squads and their ability to reposition themselves throughout the turn actually is really interesting in this detachment. We have a paladin squad as well, so that's actually probably where one of the characters is going, I imagine, and it's likely not the Brotherhood Terminators, and we're just using one of those to steal objectives from people. A big Purifier squad for Castle and Crow, and then a little Purifier squad, which is going to act as a little buff for your other units. They can teleport around and give you close deep strikes for the big Purifier squad or hit rerolls. Not a single Nemesis Dread Knight in sight here, chat. And that, as they say, is pretty classy. No Nemesis Dread Knights whatsoever. So we're probably delivering the Paladins in the Redeemer, I would imagine. I think that's probably what we're doing. And I guess you could also like start the Interceptors into it and get them extra movement too with a Disembark on turn 1. Kind of sweet. Interceptors are quick enough to be on the board so you can teleport Assault 2 Purifiers plus a Dreadnought. Yeah. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to teleport Assault the entire thing, for sure. The real Nemesis Dread Knight was inside us all. The real Nemesis Dread Knight were the plunge we made along the way, chat. Very cool. That is a fascinating Grey Knights list. That is very different than I think we would expect to see from Warpbane, because I think a lot of people are on Windmill Slam, 3 Nemesis Dread Knights, call it a day, which is kind of where I landed on that detachment too. But it's very difficult to fit everything you want in the detachment when you're paying almost 700 points for 3 models. So the Land Raider is really cool there. Should we pop over to another event here, chat? I think we will talk. Let's talk about. Let's talk about some cool Grotsmas stuff. So we have some large events that we'll look at. I think a little bit later on. There's some close to 30 or 40 people RTTs, which is wild. But we also have a Reaper's Wager that went 3-0, which I'm kind of excited about. So let's go over here to the Paradox RTT. This was 13 players over in Washington, and we saw Drukhari using Reaper's Wager go 3-0. We also saw Orks go 3-0. We'll talk about Orks. I don't know if that list is running tactical, but Orks did have a hell of a week, at least on the small tables this week. They had like, at least out of what I counted, Basically, about half the events that I put into my list here had orcs. Yeah, I think 4 out of 8 had orcs at 3-0. And I think that orcs are probably looking pretty good, not just because of their detachment, but I think their new data sheets are incredible. So we'll talk about those in a moment. But let's talk about some frickin' Reaper's Wager, because I'm psyched to talk about this detachment because I have no fucking idea what's going on. So we're gonna learn together about what we're doing with these guys, because this is wild. So for those who don't remember, Reaper's Wager gives you it's a bid between the Harlequins and the Drukhari for to get the last laugh, to get the last kill in the phase. Essentially, your Drukhari units are winning the wager if they're the last one to have killed a model. Your Harlequin units are winning the wager if they're the last one to have killed a unit. I should say, not a model, a unit. While you're losing the wager, so as long as the other team is winning, you get hit and wound rerolls of 1. And then you can. There is a enhancement which I don't think that we're using here. There is an enhancement to flip the wager with pain tokens, and it's like a pain token economy thing. But we're just not even doing that today. So we have an Archon with Arch Raider. So that's 9-inch scout if he's embarked into a transport. For the transport and everything embarked into it. Dedicated transport, I should say. So it only works on like Raiders and Venoms, essentially. Or Star Weavers if it's on a Harlequin unit. We have a Troop Master with Webway Walker. So this gives his unit Deep Strike, and he can reroll charge rolls the turn he comes in if he is currently losing the wager. So not only, in addition to getting hit rerolls, he's also going to get charge rerolls as well. But that's a good way to be able to deliver the Harlequins without having to pay for Star Weavers, and also if we want larger Harlequin troops, because otherwise you're limited by the transport capacity of the Weavers, which is pretty limited. So we can use this guy to potentially rapid ingress and get the Harlequin troop squad onto the into the fight. The other thing is that we do have an advance in charge in the detachment for a CP, but it is, I think this detachment's going to be fairly CP limited because it's got a lot going on, man. We have 10 Incubi, and I wonder if they're going in with the Archon here. We also have a Solitaire and a Genestealer, I should say, as well. 2 units of 10 Cabalites, a 5-model Mandrake squad, 6 Harlequin troops to go hang out with the Troop Master, 2 units of Scourges, 1 has Heat Lances. Wild. So we can use the strategy called Shorten the Odds. You can use it. It's just after you advance, you get to shoot and charge. So we could potentially use the Heat Lances, although they assault though, actually. So I don't think we need to advance and shoot with them. I'm gonna verify myself there because now I feel like I am a crazy person. I think that the Reaver version does. Yeah, they assault, so we don't even need to do that. So that just gives them a much faster threat range, potentially. The downside is an 18-inch range, but I don't know. I guess we're just excited to be AP4. Punch through some cover with those guys. That's like sick, actually, yeah. Assault Heavy melts a 3 if you're within 9 inches of your target, which is very close. There is a 2CP reactive move as well, so we could potentially try to use their shoot and scoot and then the reactive move to run away and keep that unit safe. But that's an interesting play to take the big punchy weapons. And then we have a Haywire unit as well to shoot at the little infantry stuff. 1 Raider with a Dark Lance, so that's almost certainly where the 10 Incubi are going. 2 units of 5 Venom, so we can split the Cavalite Warriors up. And then we have a Kronos for CP, or a pain token regen. 2 units of 2 Talos, a unit of 6 Reavers. That's a big unit of Reavers. Oh my god. And then 2 Sky Weavers as well. The Sky Weavers are kind of nice because Drukhari always begin the game winning the wager. So Skyweavers instantaneously benefit from hit and wound rerolls of 1 on the top of the first turn. So you can actually use them very aggressively, and they're very consistent. So they'll just run in, they'll shoot a vehicle for a bunch of damage. You can advance and charge them, I believe. I don't think that's locked to infantry, but I'll double check myself there. It is any unit. So you can advance and shoot them, or advance and shoot, advance and charge. They can like chip into a bunch of devastating wounds on a vehicle and then clear out like a utility unit in melee and just call it a day. And then that flips the wager over to Harlequins, and Drukhari will then, through your next shooting phase, most likely will get the hit and wound rerolls of 1. Until your fight phase, if they'll kill something round 2, and hopefully the Harlequin troop at that point can come in and kill something to flip it back for round 3. So, as you can see, this detachment's hyper complicated. You have to ensure that the correct units are hitting at the right time to ensure that the wager is flipping back and forth. But once you can set up that sequencing, you're getting essentially army-wide hit and wound rerolls as long as you don't kill things too quickly, which is pretty wild. So this list is cool as hell. Super sick. He's running additional shooting. Oh yeah, he's running Starbolas, I guess. Yeah, that's interesting. What is the profile on a Starbola? They're like AP 1, 2 damage. A low 12-inch gun. Starbola, oh, excuse me, AP 2. D3 shots, strength 7, AP 2, 2 damage. Yeah, so we are just really hoping to get... it's like a move 14 potential advance and charge, and we're shooting 4 Haywire shots and 2 D3 Bola shots with those hit and wound rerolls. So if you're hitting like little baby units, it's actually it's pretty reasonable that you knock out like a light like 5-man squad or something early. But unfortunately, it gives them close combat weapon melee attacks, so they don't really have that much, that many good. They don't have good melee options if they're not running the Zephyrglaive. Brain hurts. Yeah. Yeah. This. Yeah. I think watching a really good player with this detachment is going to be like watching somebody, play a piano concerto or something. Like, it's going to be fucking wild, dude. This is. I imagine all the old school hardcore Harlequin players from 8th edition and like early 9th edition that were just like would just sort of just do like insane artistry on the tabletop with combat movement are gonna fucking love this detachment because it seems so precise. I guess it's also important to note that we have the DJ and the Solitaire too, so we do have some other kind of aggressive characters that can go in and flip the wager when we need to as well. But it seems like the goal is going to be to ensure that the wager is active on Drukhari for most of the time, at least in the shooting phase. The Incubi don't need it. So, because the Archon's going to give them full rerolls, so they don't really care that much. But we would certainly like to get some level of wound rerolls on these Scourges and the Talos, for example, which I think would be cool. Cool list, man. Man. Except the Talos and the Chronos. Oh man, you gotta get those, dude. That's core for Drukhari right now. The homunculus monsters. I mean, to be fair, I feel like that's the natural evolution point of Drukhari in every edition. Is like they slowly build towards being just this monster faction. Slowly but surely they end up by just windmill slamming a bunch of big beefy boys into you. All right, let's move over to Orcs real quick here. It looks like it is Green Tide today from Ryan Murphy. Running a war boss with bloodthirsty belligerents, a ferocious show-off war boss, another war boss, and a weird boy. No pain boys at all. Just war bosses. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of boys, a truck, 3 battle wagons to keep the boys around in, Gretchen squad, commando squad, 6 mega knobs. Do we have a teleport guy? No, that's the wrong detachment. Interesting. Okay, just run a Mega Knobs, I guess. All right, fair enough. 2 Stormboys units as well. All right. Well, Green Tide with Battle Wagon is actually interesting. I think that makes a lot more sense than the classic Green Tide build. I actually played against a Green Tide list on stream last week, and oh boy, being able to lock in fixed secondaries, especially for the list I was playing, which was a meme, is equally as memey to Green Tide, was fucking wild. Because it was you know, like 120 orc boys or whatever, with pain boys and war bosses and you know, word boys and stuff, and you're just so consistently able to kill. Like, orc boys will die eventually. They're not the easiest thing in the world to one-shot, but it's not like they're super survivable. And once the orc boys die, the characters die, like, instantly. So being able to just, like, focus fire down and just score 10 points on secondaries by getting Cull Assassination every turn was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And I think playing around that Cull is really cool. The one funny thing is that I'm going to check my math here. I believe that Cull checks if their Cull targets are on the battlefield. Is that right? See if I can find the card here, chat, real quick. I'm gonna check myself here. Yeah, so the Cull the Horde secondary card specifies that when it's drawn, if no enemy units on the battlefield suffer the conditions to score it, you can redraw. So interestingly, an early game Cull, like battle round 1 or 2, might actually still redraw itself. Because the boys are going to be in the transports. Oh no, we have 40 boys. No, just kidding. I think we have enough boys that there's going to be guys on the table. So the Cull sticks in your hand, which you might be able to score later on, but it has to come up naturally. And it's not good as a fixed secondary because we don't quite give up assassination. So you could take fixed. You could maybe max Cull if you kill literally all the orc boys. However, you're going to lose 4 points on assassination, and it's going to be tough to do because as soon as you lock in fixed, like, offensive objectives, the orc player just plays super cagey and doesn't commit until the late game. So now that they have control over when they wog, they can wog on, like, turn 3 or 4 and just push you super hard, super late, and then try to flip objectives at the end of the game. And then you run out of time to actually kill the orc boys. So I really like this. This battle wagon build feels like it has very neatly dodged a lot of the issues that Green Tide tends to have. I don't know necessarily if it's better than running the other detachments, but it's much more interesting of a list to me than I think the standard builds are. The Deathwatch game was okay. I was right about not having enough secondary objectives. Yeah, that's true. I gotta get something else in there. I like the Deathwatch list I'm playing with, though. We played Deathwatch yesterday on live stream, by the way, chat, and the new Deathwatch stuff. And man, are those kill teams super sick, dude. All right, let's talk about some other stuff. I know that we have a Starshatter Arsenal we can talk about. I don't know how excited people are to talk about Starshatter Arsenal. Other than that, I believe that there is also a Creations of Bile that I know has gone undefeated as well. Yeah, there were some World Eaters, but they were not playing... They were not playing Vessels. They were playing Berserker Warband, so it's like kind of whatever. All right, so let's stick with Orcs here, chats. We're going to move over to the HWP December Grain of Salt. Parentheses, Chris' birthday event, end parentheses. Down in Plantation, Florida. And this was huge. This event was enormous. 39 players for an RTT, which is awesome. These big RTTs have like such fun energy, by the way. If anybody hasn't been to like an RTT with 1 trillion people in it, it's just like you just play day 1 of a GT, and it's like, I don't know, it's super cool. We had 2 Orcs undefeated at the end here. Like I said, chat, Orcs wildly represented this time around, and I think combination of the buffs to the faction, and also I think having these huge new data sheets is awesome. Ruben Fernandez was playing Tactical Brigade, so let's talk about some brand new Ork builds, Ork stuff. New Terran Warriors list. I'm not sure yet. We'll take a peek. Local store has 30 people for RTTs. Yeah, one of the local stores I go to typically has those too. The difference here is that it's a holiday weekend, obviously, so getting a 30-person RTT is actually really uncommon. I think in all the events I looked at, like 3 of them broke 30 people, maybe out of like 100 or whatever, like 20 or 30 RTTs. I think I peeked through. Yeah, the cover image is amazing. So, Tactical Brigade is what we're going to be talking about this time around. This is the new Ork detachment where they become Astra Militarum. Orkstra Militarum. Let's go with that. So they get orders, Orkters, that they can issue. Bosses, mechs, and war bosses can issue tactic abilities in your command phase, or, like Militarum Orders, when you disembark a transport or arrive from reserve, you do it at the end of the phase. You can then take a leadership test to, if you fail, you take D3 mortal wounds, to issue a second order. So you can issue up to 2 to units that are not battle shocked. And you can stack those. So unlike Militarum Orders, these are a little bit less powerful, but you do have the opportunity to maybe stack 2 of them together at the same time. The bonuses you can get are reroll charge rolls, +1 strength and melee, cover and stealth, or +1 to hit with ranged attacks. Now, importantly, that's +1 to hit and not +1 ballistic skill, which is what take aim is. So it doesn't stack with other +1 to hit effects that orcs get. And that's a very important piece of minutia, because a lot of the new orc datasheets get hit bonuses against like vehicles, for example, or they have heavy weapons, and those will not stack together. So you can only ever max at +1 to hit with Tactical Brigade. But that said, these are super cool bonuses to get. Being able to double stack them is huge, especially for units like these beast bosses. And you also have like a bunch of really cool sort of utility stratagems too. You can buff your OC when you're engaging people. You can uppy downy your commandos and storm boys. You can fall back, shoot, and charge. There's a reactive move after your opponent falls back from you, so you can like use that to get into reserve. So there's a bunch of really good stratagems to use with this detachment too. So we're running triple beast boss, a big mech and mega armor with the custom force field. So the thing here, he's a mech captain, so he can attach into Flash Gits, and then he becomes old school Captain Badrick. So he gives them their their hit rerolls back, and then the Flash Gits are sustained once per game lethal hits, 1,000,000 attacks. So they are hugely benefited by hit rerolls. Previously you would almost always see the 10 Flash Gits plus Captain Badrick and Ork lists before he got removed, and this basically gives you a way to get Captain Badrick back. And even better is that he's a mech, so he can issue the order to the unit when they disembark their transport to get +1 to hit. So you're +1 to hit, full hit rerolling, lethal hits, sustained hits. They're only AP1, so they do bounce off high armor save stuff, but you're throwing so many saves at your opponent that oftentimes they'll just burn through like 3+ armor saves. They have a little bit of tough time punching through like super heavy armor, like, you know, if you're a 2+ or a 3+ save high toughness tank, they will have trouble punching through you, but that's not what they're there for. They're there to sweep 1,000,000 infantry. Plus, they have like 4 melee attacks each. They have like 4 choppa attacks too, so they're also good at that. And then the mega armor mech gives them. He's got the KFF, so he gives them an invuln save on the crackback too. We have a shock attack gun, big mech with Mork's Cunning. That is a redeployment, I believe. It is redeploy up to 3 orc units from your army, and you can place them into strategic reserve. Just nice to have. I don't think it's that expensive. It's only 15 points, which is like kind of a windmill slam, honestly. Sometimes my poor Tyranids over here have this for like 30, I think. It's Alien Cunning, which is like wildly overcosted. And then another big attack, shock attack on Big Mech. Now the Big Mechs can also, like, they issue orders as well, and they can also get +1 to hit themselves. And the downside is that they have a big heavy weapon. So the idea is that you are getting the heavy bonus, so their base ballistic skill is only 5, and so, but they'll never actually get the heavy bonus. So being able to order their own unit to get +1 to hit is enormous for these guys, because it wildly improves their damage output. Beast Snagga Boys to join with the Beast Bosses, trucks to carry those guys around, a Flash Gits unit for the Mech Captain, double Gretchen. Oh, excuse me. We have trucks for the other infantry. We have kill rigs. Let's go for the Beast Snagga Boys. Which I don't know if they have any. There's not a ton of synergy here. I guess you can actually order +1 strength onto the kill rigs. And that will actually stack with the kill rigs existing +1 strength buff. So that's kind of cool. So you can potentially get up to like +5 strength on a single kill rig if you're on the law turn. Whoa. Okay. We're just pushing these guys through the roof. You can also just do that to infantry units too, because they can stack up their buff on something. We have a Stormboy squad for all the benefits, and then 2 tank busters. And I think these are the data sheets that are going to be maybe most transformative to orcs. Moving on into the new season, these guys, the tank busters give you +1 to hit and wound with your ranged attacks targeting vehicles. So they all have rocket launches, and then they have a once per game +1 strength, +1 AP buff to their ranged attacks. So you attach the shock attack on mechs into them. He can just be like, because they already get +1 to hit, unless they're shooting at infantry, in which case he can just order +1 to hit on them. He can order stealth and cover, which makes them kind of sticky to remove. They're not super tanky, but they'll stick around for a little bit. And then he goes to potentially hitting on 4s, wounding basically all vehicles on 4s, if not 3s or 2s. He is once per game with the pulsar rocket, goes up to strength 10. At strength 10, I think it goes to AP 5, D6 damage. And then the tank busters themselves go to strength 10 with +1 to wound as well. So these guys do sort of like ludicrous damage into vehicles. Compounded even more so from the mechs, and they get reroll once they hit from the attached mech as well. So this data sheet, along with the shock attack on mech, sort of single-handedly gives orcs a really good anti-tank shooting option that they literally just didn't have previously. And when you combine that with the 3 kill rigs that are also shooting the war towers at you, this list actually puts out a ton of shooting, so it actually can hold its WOG for a lot longer than you would expect it to. It's got flash gits to clear your screening infantry. If you're move blocking it, like it can just peel you with the rigs and the tank bustas. Or if you're trying to like engage it with a long range, they can actually still pick up vehicles with the tank bustas as well. So this list is able to play this standoff game that orcs have never been able to do before. And then once you get stuck in, the kill rigs all stack their +1 strength bonuses with the tactical +1 strength bonus, and suddenly your little Beast Snagga Boy regular dudes are hitting at strength 8, strength 9 with a bunch of attacks. So yeah, this detachment is looking super cool. I think orcs getting a really solid way to deliver ranged attacks is going to be huge for the faction. I think that's going to be one of the things that drives them into the future. Having a buffed WOG thanks to the data slate update was a big deal, but the problem is that orcs were always missing a thing to do if they got move blocked. You would play War Horde, and you would run a bunch of transports, and then your opponent had a bunch of chaff, and they would just buy a turn by running the chaff into you. Heaven forbid they had infiltrators and you went second, and they would buy a turn by movement blocking your vehicles, and then you would kill the chaff. They would shoot at you for a turn, and then move block you again, and then you would disembark, and they would shoot at you for a turn, and then you would WOG and charge. And at that point, your army was whittled down. And now they're just going to sit back and kill all that stuff with shooting attacks and do nothing. And they get to engage on their own terms. So this list is terrifying looking. It looks actually sick, and I think it's really emblematic of what we're going to be seeing from orcs moving on into the near future. Ooh, looking cool, chats. I love it. Yeah, you can get +5. Each kill rig can give +1 strength to a unit. They are not a named strength buffing effect. So you can get up to 3. You can get +1 from the Tactical Brigade. +1 strength effect, which that one's, I think, a little arguable whether or not it stacks. I don't believe that it will. You are affected by the tactical ability Get On With It, which gives you +1 strength. I think if you added multiple instances of Get On With It, it would not buff, which I believe is the correct interpretation. Which I guess also, yeah, you also can't be issued tactics multiple times anyway. So a single officer can't order you to be +1 strength twice. So it's either way, it doesn't matter. You can get 2 separate tactics on you if you take the leadership check, but otherwise you're limited to 1. So it's +1 from the detachment, +1 for each kill rig, +1 if you're wogging. +5 strength. You can get your Beast Snagga boys to strength 10 melee attacks. With the stars combined. To be fair, they're probably not going to do that, but I think we can, like, be strength 8 and probably call it a day. You can also just do that to the kill rigs. So you can have a kill rig have, like, 4 strength 13 attacks, 4 strength 10 attacks, and 6 strength 15 attacks, if you wanted. But realistically, +2 or +3 strength is, like, totally fine. That gets them to winning most enemies on 2s. Seems good, chat. Random question. Does the first company orbital teleportarium give the target deep strike? Let's look. I know how the teleportarium in Deathwatch works, but I don't remember how First Company works. It's been since Ruben Zhao's last outing that we've talked about First Company Task Force. Let's take a peek. Orbital Teleportarium says, at the end of your opponent's fight phase, you target one Adeptus Astartes Terminator unit from your army. It places in strategic reserve. It will arrive back on at the reinforcement step of your next movement phase using the Deep Strike ability. So they don't gain Deep Strike, but they will use... They effectively will gain Deep Strike for being set up, yes. They also it hits Terminator units, and I don't know if there are any Terminators that don't naturally Deep Strike. I guess it's an interesting question. I bet there's like a weird corner case where there's like not. Where some rando doesn't have Deep Strike. Is it like Terminator battle leaders? Nope, they have it. Yeah, I don't know any Terminators that don't have Deep Strike. Does Logan on Storm Rider, is he a Terminator? No, just a guy. He is wearing Terminator armor, but he loses the keyword, I guess. Interesting. You targeted a Wolfguard pack leader unit. Oh, if like there's a guy, there's a unit with the pack leader inside. Yeah, I believe that would work. That's actually kind of sick. I guess that's like what Champions of Fenris should have been doing. Yeah, because the Terminator pack leader has Terminator, so it is a Terminator unit. Fortunately, they didn't fuck the wording and say a Adeptus Astartes Terminator squad unit. First Company is better than a Grotsmas detachment. Did I literally say that? Oh no, I think I compared it to Anvil Siege Force. No, I said it when we played on stream. I was like, at least in First Company you get the once per game wound rerolls. Champions of Fenris does fucking nothing. It has no change to the game state. It's fucking wild. Oh man. Will I be playing orcs on stream? Listen, chat. I will play orcs on stream if you super chat enough, for sure. I'll play anything on stream for super chats, you know? I'll do it. Don't think I won't. Inquisitors joining Terminators as they have a kill team keyword. Yeah, so yeah, they have the all the correct keywords when the Inquisitors is joined, which is cool. All right. Where else should we go here, chat? I believe this is a Creations of Bile. It is. So we can talk about some Creations of Bile. How's that? Hey, Danny boy, you are prescient with your timing on that question. Because the next one is going to be Creations. All Super Chat's going to be playing Orcs. All right, chat. Why don't we do it? Let's do a goal. I will play Orcs on stream probably after my finals game if we Super Chat. Boosh. There you go, folks. Creations of Bile. Using a stolen Bile list. Alright. We might have seen this list before, chat. That makes me feel like we may have talked about this one last week. It's using a Chaos Horde with Prime Subject. So he gets these his little hit rerolls. Cypher, Fabulous Bill. 1 Chaos Mob unit, double Legionaries, triple Chaos Rhinos, 2 Chosen units of Nemesis Claw, 2 units of 10-man Possessed, and 2 Warlock Heightsmen. Okay, yeah, so this is... Fair enough, Benjamin Cromer. This is the Anthony Vanilla list, I believe, exactly. That I talked about in my video a couple weeks ago. So I will refer you to that video. Let me just go grab the... I'll just go grab the link, and we will discuss that one. I think that it is, yeah, it's 11 days ago is when that one launched. Here you go. How much do you have to Super Chat to make me play Kill Team? Listen, it's on the table, but the answer is a lot. Playing a new faction in the game that I play like constantly is much different than learning an entirely new game. Thoughts on the new world? You see a lot of debate over which of the two detachments is better. Yeah, we talked about it briefly at the beginning of the stream. I think that they're basically the same, like similar power level. I think Vessels of Wrath is more flexible and like tactical. However, Berserk Warband does a lot more damage. So, do you want to do damage, or do you want to be able to like switch up your blessings on the fly? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. And I think the other question is, do you want to play Angron, or are you okay with not playing Angron? Because I think that Berserker Warband is just like Windmill Slam the Angron detachment, and Vessels of Wrath can take him or leave him. So Shane Ragland running an Emperor's Children Veterans of the Long War here. Not a Grotsmas detachment, but while we're in the vicinity of Chaos Space Marines, I think it's worth discussing. We have a War Master's Gift Chaos Lord, Cypher, Fabulous Bill, and Luscious the Eternal. That's what makes it Emperor's Children. Cultist Mob, Legionary Unit ×2, double Chaos Rhinos, triple Chaos Bikers, double Predator Destructor, 1 Vindicator, big tenor of Chosen, so that's for Fabulous Bill to jump into because he gives them their +1 toughness, +1 strength. And 2 units of 2 Obliterators, which is interesting. But the Obliterators, I think, do benefit quite a bit from the Veterans hit rerolls. So I imagine that that's probably some of the thinking there, is that you could oath something, what's it, Focus of Hatred or whatever, and then that's out of line of sight early game, and then use their once per games in direct fire shooting, and really just blasting people. You can kind of like open up the fight by just killing something that way, and that gives you like a big attritional lead, and that means that you're probably less incentivized to like play super aggressive with the Chosen, which I imagine is a little bit more exciting. Chosen also, like, big Chosen units probably pretty good with the reactive move too, because it's really easy to trigger it if you're a big unit that's like strung out over a long area, and then that can mess with your opponent's stuff, your opponent's movement phase. So it's double Rhinos with, I guess just 5 model legionaries inside. But we have, I imagine that Lucius will probably hang out in one of those, and then the War Master's Gift Lord in the other one, and then I would have a sneaking suspicion that a Fabulous Bile just jumps with the Chosen unit to buff that, give that strength buff over a lot of models. Veterans of the Long War is 2 weak. Make the detachments also get +1 to wound. And make Abaddon get let you choose 2 focuses of hatred. Let's do that. In addition to his other abilities, he gets that in extra. Oh man. All right, chats. Let's see. So we see some Blood Angels, as we can see here. The other thing, and I guess I'm interested in. If we have other Grotsmas detachments to talk about. We have some success from Tyranids, but I think it's largely Crusher Stampede. I will verify real quick. It's a combination of Crusher Stampede and Invasion Fleet. So if we want to dive into that, we can talk about that. A little bit of Leagues of Votann success, some Black Templar success as well. Almost, I think I might have underswung here with my Ork reporting. Almost every single event had Orks. No, that's not right. It was I think over half the ones that I took down stats for. Limited sample size, obviously, but it is pretty impressive how well Orks did. I think we should talk about Starshatter. I think this might be the last Grotsmas detachment that we have to discuss. I'll just double check here. It is, in fact, the last Grotsmas detachment we have to discuss, at least that I have in my notes. So let's talk about that, and then we can talk about some other stuff that got updated that's going to get some play. So, yep. Here we are. So we're over in the Chapel Clash RTT. 30 players. Over here in Omaha, Nebraska. Every entrant receives a 3D printed dice box? Are you kidding me? What? For $20? Dude. Who is Trainer Wolf? That's like greatest event organizer ever. He gives you dice boxes for like $20 is at least in my area pretty cheap for an RTT. Most of the ones here are 25 or 30 bucks. But we don't get shit. That just goes to the winners. John Vucetich.
Johnny Mars donated $5 through Super Chat. Had to take a work call and missed a bunch. Did you talk about any Ironstorm stuff using or not using G-Man?
Johnny Mars, thanks for the Super Chat, buddy. Hope your work call went well. We will talk about Ironstorm literally right after this. Is going to be exact like that's the next on the line. So you are ready to go. Talk about Aiden Smalley's Death Guard Grotsmas RTT. Let me know which event that was in, because I might not. I don't think I have that one in my notes here. So if you throw me the event name, we can take a peek at it. Were there not one of the Grotsmas Tyranny with that one, or were it farther back? Yeah, so they won a GT, or they went undefeated at a GT like 3 weeks ago or something. Like 3 days after the event went. The detachment will fly, which is wild that they were using the rules, but you know, we made it work. We did it. First super chat ever. Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. And that's one towards me playing Orcs, so we're 20% of the way there. Hey.
Bonzi Kitty Gaming donated $2 through Super Chat. Any Ravengard/Shrike? To a new year and health.
Bonzi Kitty, thank you so much for the super chat. No Ravengard this time around, unfortunately. It was surprisingly Space Marine Light, which at least in the events that I looked at, There's a lot of Blood Angels, like randomly, kind of, and Black Templars, but it's all sort of standard stuff. But very few like Ultramarines, which is surprising me because they're really broken. So, and I'll be honest, chat, I don't even want to hear this thing where it's like, oh, it's only bad players lose Ultramarines. No. That's wrong. Ultramarines are really dumb. Having played them for several games in a row, they're incredibly silly. But yeah, very few Space Marines this time around, which is wild. Inky's back to bump my camera, but let's talk about this Starshatter Arsenal. Okay, Kitty. Oh, you gotta get out of the way of the screen. I have to see chat. Oh, what's up, baby girl? You are just a cute little stuffed animal, huh?
Johnny Mars donated $5 through Super Chat. Also just wanted to say thanks from the whole community for a wicked 2024. You're a solid voice for the hobby and we all appreciate it. Thanks, Trev.
Aw, Johnny. You're making me tear up, buddy. I appreciate that. And thank you for the support from the community as well. It's been a roller coaster ride of a year for old Tactical Tortoise over here. Basically, it's been stressful, but I appreciate everybody sort of, bearing with me through it. Between basically starting up live streaming at the end of last year and like almost around this time last year, at least traveling for live streaming and doing tactical Tyrannosaurus stuff, it's been like a lot of additional time doing content creation. And I appreciate everybody who's supported me through it because it's really transformative. But I think that 2025 is going to be a hell of a year. I'm talking with some competitive circuits. We're going to be we're doing huge upgrades to the streaming for live event coverage. I think I'm going to be on more streams than ever this coming year as well. So you can expect probably at least 1 to 2 events a month for live stream coverage, if not more, and also a lot more stuff from Tyrannosaurus as well. So it's going to be a fucking wild year, dude. So everybody who's sort of helped me through it, I really appreciate that. But thank you so much, dude. A lot of people playing Black Templar with no Black Templar units. That's true. Yeah, we talked about one of those the other day. Turns out you don't need Black Templar units. You just play Righteous Crusaders and give everybody a 6+ Feel No Pain. It's like old Iron Hands. That's what Iron Hands used to do back in the day. It's essentially the same thing. Just like, who needs Iron Father Fieros? I just want the detachment ability. Alright, cat. Get out of here. I really want to talk about Necrons right now, though. So, Starshatter Arsenal, for those who don't know, I think this is, you're going to see it now, and you're probably going to see it in the future, because it's really strong, and it's super flexible, which I think is why it's so strong. Hey! Well, thank you for the channel membership, by the way, Bonsi Kitty. Appreciate that. You can play Genestealer Cults without more inky content. Well, she's trying to be on camera more. We got that one where she knocked over the camera the other day, which was very funny. She just ran right into it. Yeah, we'll talk about the Black Templar list for sure. So yeah, we're gonna, I think, see a lot of Starshatter Arsenal moving on into the future. It's super flexible. It's sort of nominally a vehicle and mounted detachment, but like you can kind of play anything in it, which is it's pretty strong. We're rocking Imhotep the Stormlord just to unlock some CP so we can use all of our incredible strats. We have the Silent King, who's great. We can get a reroll aura from him. We also have a bunch of bonuses for vehicles. So the benefit is that you get vehicle and mounted units gain assault. He is a vehicle, so he can assault with his huge laser cannon rocks. In addition, anytime anything in the army makes an attack against somebody on an objective, any attack, melee or ranged, you get +1 to hit. So you're getting like 50% of the time, you're getting +1 to hit. And you're also getting a lot of additional movement from it. Ulrich Captain, thank you for the membership as well. Old Uruk Captain over there. Is that a little Lord of the Rings, a little War of the Ring callback? My old Urukai Captain. I have like 5 of those guys sitting in a box. Actually, I think I took them to Philadelphia already, so they're sitting in a box in my new house. But yeah, they're chilling over there. Those bad mamma jammas. I got the old resin ones. Love those models. Super sick. So like basically 50% of the time, just about is your opponent can play around the +1 to hit by not going on objectives. Obviously, that's better for you. But in most cases, that's generally the play because it stops you from being able to like draw random area denial or overwhelming force and stuff like that. But when it matters, you'll be getting +1 to hit, which is huge. In addition, units like the Silent King are also super fast. You can also move them through walls with Dimensional Tunnel. You also have a situational -1 to be wounded, and you have an auto 6 advance, so you can get that guy into range more easily. And you have a 6-inch reactive move in response to shooting. So this dude's like just freaking insanely hard to take down. He's move incredibly fast, and he can buff the rest of the army. We have a Hexmark Destroyer with Chrono Impedance Fields, who can also give a vehicle -1 damage. So you can also stack that on him. So he could potentially be -1 to be wounded, and -1 damage. Freaking wild. We have a Translocation Shroud Overlord with Dread Majesty, which essentially gives him another instance of the Silent King's reroll aura. So it's reroll hits of 1 and wounds of 1. And then we have another Royal Warden with Demanding Leader. That's just a 10-pointer that allows you to fall back and shoot on vehicle and mounted units as well. So, yeah, you can like windmill a bunch of super huge bonuses to the Silent King. He's impossible to kill. He's super fast. He does a bunch of damage. Those also work on Doomsday Arcs and this Triarch Stalker. So that's kind of the core brick of the army. We then have 5 Flayed Ones just as a utility unit. Getting +1 to hit in those guys is also sweet because their hit rolls are kind of where they flub sometimes. But if they can get a bunch of sustains, they go absolutely wild. A unit of 10 Lich Guard. These guys, I think, are mostly in here for the reactive move. I don't know. I guess they have end of your fight phase. They can reanimate additional times, I guess, so they can bring dudes back. But otherwise, they're just a super tanky unit, which I guess is useful. And we are probably dropping, I guess, Imhotech into them, I guess. 2 Locust Destroyer units and 2 Tomb Blades, 2 units of 3 Tomb Blades as well. They get all the benefits of being mounted, which is most of the stratagems and detachment ability synergize best with them. A Canoptek Spider to give the vehicles 6+ Feel No Pain, and then a Triarch Stalker to strip cover from people. So, for those keeping track, these vehicles can be +6 move, because they can advance and shoot, move through walls, 6-inch reactive move. To be fair, doesn't go through walls, so that's good. -1 to be wounded, -1 damage with a 6+ Feel No Pain. Reroll once to hit and wound, and potentially ignore modifiers too. So it's like, it's just good old fashioned straight up 40k where it kills you. Like they just like outstat like half the game and blow it up. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be really good. Like the numbers are really big on this army. And I think a lot of the army's gonna, a lot of the game's gonna have a struggle like taking it down. Not surprising that it went undefeated this time. In this event, I guess it does. It might give up. Does it give up? Bring it down. I think it does. The teams there give up. I guess they only give up 2, right? They're 14 wins. So you could give up like 14, I guess. So that's not that exciting. But yeah. That's a good detachment chat. It's good old-fashioned good detachment stuff. Bring your Lord of Deceit. Yeah. Yeah. Please, CP tax these folks. Also, characteristic modifier ignoring is probably huge, too. Like, Mortarion, I think, really wants to be in here. So you don't get -1 to wound and -1 damage like stacked on top of you. But yeah, this is, I think, of all the detachments in the game, or for Grotsmas, this is probably the everyone was expecting there to be some like super torqued stuff, and I think the Starshatter is. It feels like, at least to me, it feels like it got overshadowed a little bit by the December update, because I think it came out just before the update. So this came out and people were like, "What the fuck?" And then the update came out and we're like, "Also, Space Marines are universally +1 to wound," and you're like, But I think that, yeah, this is going to be a problematic detachment to play against in the new update. Especially because oftentimes you're only going to be able to shoot at a lot of the stuff one time. You can't necessarily concentrate fire on it because of its reactive moves. So, yeah, it's real good stuff, you know? It's real strong Necrons over here. All right, let's grab the... we wanted to go to Chapel Clash. No, we wanted to go to talk about some Ironstorm Spearhead stuff. So Ironstorm Spearhead stuff was at the Red Gobo Forge RTT. Here it is. Conan Jennings. This one was I think only 16 players, 17 players in fact. Conan Jennings rocking some Ultramarines, playing Ironstorm Spearhead. So this is I think it remains to be seen, I think, where Ultramarines end up like landing as in a detachment. I think that there's a bunch of different places they could be. Ironstorm Spearhead is probably the most straightforward. Vanguard Spearhead is the most proven. There's like some argument to be made for Gladius Task Force. Or Librarius Conclave. Librarius is really cool, but I think it's a little bit like awkward to play around. I like Gladius personally because it's really flexible, but I recognize also that it doesn't necessarily have the same like numbers as Ironstorm Spearhead does. So it's a combi weapon lieutenant with Master of Machine War, so advance and fall back and shoot for one vehicle. It's not an aura anymore. It's now one guy that you choose in your command phase. But he's lone operative, so he can grant Robo Booty Gillyman lone operative by just hanging out with him. So you don't necessarily need any other units to staple with him. And then they're probably going to be in the heart of the vehicle brick because you want Gilliman's aura to CP discount your strats. You have a trillion strats to use with this guy. Sometimes more infantry-focused armies tend to run out of things for Gilliman to do with his free CP on your opponent's turn. That's not the case for Ironstorm Spearhead. You have Armor of Contempt, you have reactive shooting, you have smoke screen on basically your whole army, so you have a million ways to spend his CP. So double stacking him with Marneus Calgar is super huge here. And then you get two really powerful late game anchors that you can use on like rounds 3 to 4 to just punch your opponent down. If they try to push forward and really aggressively interact with the tanks, you then have your melee to come counterpunch them. So he's chilling with the combi weapon lieutenant. We have Marneus Calgar, an intercessor squad, just 5 guys. And it looks like other utility stuff. We have a scout squad, an incursor squad for +1 to hit, a company hero squad. That's where Marneus Calgar is going to live. I actually, personally, I've been playing him with the intercessor squad because I didn't have a company hero squad at the time. And I actually really liked it. It doesn't necessarily feel like I really never needed the extra punching from the like company champion. You lose the resilience that company heroes have. They're super hard to kill, but you also then don't need to take an extra unit. The big benefit of the intercessor squad here is that they can sweep infantry kind of nicely, especially if you oath. Like you can drop 2 oaths down and you can first oath like 5 idiot infantry or something, and the intercessors will just kill them. And then you can move on and put all your shots into a real oath target, and it's just like additional value. They shoot 20 times plus a grenade from the grenade launcher guy. Strike 4 AP1. It's really solid shooting. Usually you're handing most targets like... If you're shooting at high toughness stuff, you're usually handing them like 7 or 8 saves. If you're targeting like infantry, you're usually wounding them like 12 to 15 times. They go kind of crazy, depending on what kind of bullets you're shooting out of your grenade launchers. Assuming that you're oath as well. So they're also just a nice utility in it, just to be by themselves as well. So then we have triple ballistic dreadnoughts. Nice thing about these guys is that if they're shooting their oath target, the +1 to wound is really big because they have a lot of kind of mediocre weapon profiles, but they're very efficient. If they're not shooting the Oath target, they're probably going to get hit rerolls anyway, because as long as you start above half your starting strength, then you're getting hit rerolls regardless. So they're hyper efficient, and they're super hard to kill, because for some reason they have 12 wounds with a 2+ armor save for 130 points. It's wild. The Encourager Squad can also help those guys out by giving +1 to hit against stuff that's not oathed. We have a Storm Speed or Hammer Strike. That's just to strip cover from people, which is super useful too, because again, we have a lot of like AP2, AP3 shooting. And then we're running 3 Vindicators as well. So we're spamming a million toughness, high toughness, 2+ save hulls. They're all getting hit rerolls somewhere usually, and they're all wounding basically half the game on 2s. It's just good numbers, chat. The numbers are really nice for this detachment. Probably, maybe not as good as Starshatter, but man, is it looking good. You're going to be handing your opponent, like, I don't know, if they have 1 Oath target that's really powerful, you're probably handing your opponent like 6 saves, 5 or 6 saves from each Vindicator, and then like 2 from each Ballistic Dreadnought. So you're just like handing your opponent like probably 20 like d6 to d6 +1 damage saving throws every turn, and very few armies can survive that. So if you get up in a straight up fight against it, it'll just kill you, which is good, you know, standard stuff. Thoughts on Predator Destructor versus the Ballistic Dreadnought? Yeah, personally, I think that they're both good. Personally, I like the Ballistic Dreadnought because it's much harder to kill, significantly harder to kill. And it doesn't necessarily need Oath to punch into tough stuff. It also has higher AP values, which I think is really important right now. Assuming that you're going to see a lot of other Space Marines, which I think is pretty fairly reliable. The Ballistic Dreadnought being AP2 on AP2 or higher on all its guns versus the AP1 autocannon is a big difference in breakpoint. The Ballistic Dreadnought especially excels if you have a unit. If you have an army that wants to Oath like something for your melee attacks, because then it can just like get hit rerolls on other stuff and just like do its own thing and wander around. But I do think that the Predator Destructor having higher volume is also good. So I think that the real answer is like a combination of the two. The Ballistic Dreadnought is probably just in... we're focusing on them here because we have those floating Ironstorm rerolls. So we want the lower volume, higher impact shooting from the Ballistus, and we're also spamming 2+ saves. So I think that's the arithmetic for this one. But if you are playing maybe a little bit more of a flexible build, you would play like a combination of like 2 Predators, 1 Ballistus, or vice versa. Predator doesn't really need the +1 to wound. I would argue the opposite, I think. I think the Predator kind of disproportionately needs the +1 to wound. Didn't Gladius get nerfed last update? I don't think anything specific to Gladius got changed. Armor of Contempt got nerfed. But I don't believe that Gladius itself got nerfed. Well, Johnny Mars, there's the Ironstorm Spearhead stuff for you. Any other thoughts on what we should take a peek at next, chat? 35-point win? Yeah, that's probably a timeout. This one. That likely means a timeout. And that can mean anything. I've actually I played some really so my RTT. I like pride myself on playing pretty quickly. And my RTT this weekend, I actually had some very, very long games. And I wonder if there's a combination. I think that like Space Marine armies, I think, tend to take a little bit longer to resolve than other factions, simply because they have like 1 trillion small units. And also, I think that there's more of a emphasis on really aggressive armies. So like orcs, we see all these orc armies, World Eaters we're seeing doing fairly well, Creations of Bile, and these are armies that can get in like immediately, be fighting in very complex combats on like round bottom of 1, maybe like top 2. And those games tend to drag on quite a bit. So I actually wonder if this format is going to be a longer game format. Not to mention the fact that I think 10th edition takes a lot longer to play than 9th edition did. And also I think Pariah Nexus does the same thing too because of secret missions and stuff. So I think you're very incentivized to play out towards the end, like for the end of the game. So you have secrets, although, you know, however much you're playing secret missions. And bottom round 5 scoring. So your games last longer, and against or more armies that are either take longer to play or engage more early. So it feels to me like we may see more timeout games than we would expect from previous formats for sure. A lot of players playing their first ever event in RTDs. Yeah, that's true as well. And I think, you know, especially like the hobby just got like these huge influxes of people, right? Like Space Marine 2, I think brought a lot of new players in. Secret mission, or secret level, I should say as well. Also, I imagine doing a little bit of work there and bringing also old players back in. The Grotsmas detachments, I think, got a lot of like hype. New update as well, so a lot of people coming in who haven't played in a while. So that could also be part of it too. Deathwatch got a unit with Scout and Infiltrate. Yeah. If you want to charge people with your Spectre skill team, which I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you're anyways that excited about it. Oh, the enhancement that everyone took on the Apothecary. Yeah, Phil, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the Fire Discipline combo got removed. Yeah, that is true. Gladius did get nerfed. There's also like some weirdness too I've been noticing where like late game, you sort of assumed that you would be getting Honor the Chapter to sort of late game anchor your army. And now that you're +1 to wound, you actually don't really need it as much. So you're like, why did I bring this Honor the Chapter? You just get it for +1 AP maybe if you're in Assault Doctrine, which is good. Don't get me wrong, +1 AP is really useful, but definitely doesn't feel quite as good as +1 AP and +1 to wound. So Gladius does feel like it's falling off, I think, as you go. And I wonder if this play with like more aggressive stuff too, where you could play like Firestorms. We saw that weird Firestorm list that went 4-1 in a GT a couple weeks ago too. Thoughts on Assimilation Swarm? I think it's fine now. I think that I worry about its resilience, which I think was always the issue with it. Being able to get more easy access to healing is a nice quality of life change, because it felt like you were jumping through too many hoops previously. But I think the issue was always that you're trying to survive on the table with Tyranid datasheets. And if you're not a Tyrannifex, it's like not happening. So like, especially in the universe where like everyone and their mom is +1 to wound you. So like, I don't know. I don't know where Tyranids end up, chat. It seems like might be a tough time for them, but we'll see. Bile detachment seems good. Not seeing anything other than the Double Knights build. Yeah, we'll see if people build out of that one. That's just because it won a GT a couple weeks ago, for sure.
Nurgle Matthew donated $7.77 through Super Chat. Wanna weigh in on a Grotsmas Demon Q?
Yeah, dude. Nurgle Matt, hit me up. Hit me up with that Grotsmas Demon question. Are you playing Plague Bearer spam? Is that what we're doing? I've seen a lot of people submitting a ton of lists that are just fucking a trillion Plague Bearers everywhere. Am I going to LBO? I'm not planning on going to LBO now. Saw a game with the new Death Guard detachment who's in the opponent's deployment zone turn 1 with Terminators. I mean, I guess it could happen. Especially if you're playing a short rush distance, deployment, like search and destroy. And if your opponent has no screening, they're just like scout, move, charge. I don't know. That one's easy. 160 Plague Bearers and 3 Demon Princes. Let's go. Do I think the Tzeentch Demons unit is able to do work? Like the detachment? No. I think the Tzeentch detachment is really cool and fun. But I think that it is worse than Demonic Incursion almost strictly. Which makes me sad. Like, the biggest benefit you get from the Tzeentch Demon Detachment is being able to pick up 2 units into Deep Strike, which you just get in Demonic Incursion for, like, playing 40k. And then you also get Everstave, and you get Endless Gift, and you get a 6-inch Deep Strike strat, and you get 6-inch Deep Strikes off your Shadow Chaos. So I would just play that. Yeah, it's really cool. Oh, this Slanesh one? Yeah, I'm playing the Slanesh one this week. I submitted it to a tournament, and I'll probably play a practice game or 2 for sure as well. Slanesh models, after charge moving, they can do a seductive gambit. They can go bananas instead of fight firsting. Can that be declared after they heroically intervene? Let's take a look. I imagine so. Let's look at the rules, chat. Also, I appreciate that you did the meme number for your super chat, Nurgle I want to make sure that we're not glossing over that. Legion of Excess. I'm sad they didn't call it. The other ones are all something Legion, and I wish they called this one like Excessive Legion, because I think that would have been funny. Each time this unit ends a charge move, you can declare it will perform a seductive gambit. If you do, until the end of the turn, it does not have fight first, but instead, each time you make an attack, you can reroll the hit and reroll the wound. Yes. The answer is yes. You can do that after heroically and everything. Because that lets you charge. It doesn't. The way that this wouldn't work is if it specified that when it ends a charge move in your charge phase, you can do a gambit. But it doesn't say that. It says just each time it ends a charge move. And heroic intervention is a charge move. Full stop. End of story. So yes, 100% can do that while heroically intervening. Which is sick. Very cool. I think this is the Slanesh detachment definitely. I have a tier list video that I've recorded. It's like an hour and a half long, and I have to edit it down on all the Grotsmas detachments. But spoiler alert, this one I think is like by far and away the best demon one, at least out of the Grotsmas detachments. We'll see if it beats out Demonic Incursion, because like let's be real, Demonic Incursion is really good at scoring 1,000,000 points. But this one does like infinitely more damage, so that's something that demons have been missing for sure. The Booby Legion. Yeah, so it would be an out of phase rule, Nurgle if it said that if this part of the ability was locked to your charge phase, but it's not locked to your charge phase, it just says when you make a charge move, which is what a heroic intervention is. Because heroic intervention, if we look at the rule, just says that you declare a charge, the triggering unit is the only target of the charge. It doesn't say like, you know, I think previous it used to be a special kind of movement. Now it just says that you declare a charge and target that unit, then resolves the charge. So because the ability isn't phase locked to your charge phase, there's no nothing's out of phase for you. You're totally fine. And that's also, I think, why it says, I think the ability would say would probably say something about not having the charge bonus, maybe. Well, it gets rid of fight first because there's Slanesh stuff that naturally fight first that you could argue that would get fight first anyway, so that would be too strong, probably. Is the ability considered a bonus regarding the charge? So charge bonuses this is a classic one because Games Workshop has chosen their words very poorly. The charge bonus from charging is literally only fights first. So anything that says you do not receive the charge bonus, like Heroica intervening, has no impact on any other ability. So if you are in Berserker Warband and it says when you make a charge move, get +1 strength and attacks, that is not the charge bonus. That's the detachment ability. That's a different thing. If you are a jump pack intercessor and your thing says when you end a charge move, do mortal wounds to your target, that is not the charge bonus. The charge bonus is literally only fight first that you get when you charge in your charge phase. So that's a classic one for people to mess up because it sounds like, oh, any bonus I get for charging is a charge bonus. No, literally only this is the charge bonus. You still get everything else if you heroically intervene. If you have any stat increases that are benefiting from charging, if you have a lance, if you have impact attack mortal wounds, if you have whatever, all of those still work. The only thing that doesn't work is this fights first that the core rules give you. And them choosing to say that is the charge bonus was probably ill informed because it confuses a lot of people. Yeah, charge bonus is a dumb wording for sure. What do I think of Wrathful Procession with all Terminators? I don't know if I have as much of a synergy with it. They get the Blood Surge move, which is really cute, but they lose like so many attacks on the charge. Like Terminators are, because they're only AP 2. Their like output in melee is already kind of mediocre, and it only becomes good because of +1 attack, right? You know, you're just like literally improving their output by 25%, and losing that is like a huge downside. So I don't know if I quite rate them in vessels versus Berserker Warband. Actually, I literally had that discussion yesterday because I played against 30 Terminators and I talked to my opponent about it, and he was like, I think vessels is cool, but I don't think it's good with 30 Terminators. I was like, fair enough, dude. In Grotsmas Detachment, you're putting Plague Marines and Rhinos. Yes, Rhinos are one of the best data sheets in 40k. Definitely put your guys in Rhinos. They're great. I would go so far as to say Rhinos are broken. But I think it gets overlooked a lot. Definitely, they help you protect you on turn 1. Your opponent can't interact with them early. You can disembark and get extra range. You can stage them more easily. You get way faster movement. You get if they don't die, then you get a utility unit. They're hard to kill to begin with, so you get outlets for like smokescreen and stuff. Yeah, Rhinos are just really good. Run 3 Rhinos right now? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think most armies that can run Rhinos should run Rhinos, in my opinion. Even like Custodians, right? Like Anathema, Psychona, Rhinos are almost just good by themselves. Like the Rhino data sheet is very silly when you think about it. You could get for like most armies can get 5 like toughness 3 infantry for like 50 to 60 points. For 10 more points, you turn those 5 toughness 3 infantry into a toughness 9 10 wound healing vehicle with smokescreen. Like, oh, okay. I double my movement. I triple my toughness. I more than double my wound count. Or I double my wound count generally. Cool. And I can embark units. Oh, okay. Rhinos would probably be insane if you could take them with no embarked models. That would be nuts. Because you would just do that. I think in a lot of situations, you would just trade utility units for more Rhinos. Also, in many factions, you get either 2 Stormbolters or a Hunter Killer Missile. Cool. I can do damage while I perform actions and complete secondaries efficiently and like blank my opponent's weird mid-range shooting. Wild. What Space Marine unit would I put in a Rhino? It's tough to say for Space Marines because a lot of their stuff doesn't embark. Because of the Tacticus keyword. So, like, what was the last list where I used a Rhino really effectively and I was happy with it? I played them in my Tactical Marine list, but that doesn't count. That's a meme. For classic Space Marines, it's funny because they have impulsors, which are way more expensive. Like, Blood Claws are really good in Rhinos. You play one in Deathwatch because of kill teams, like veteran kill teams. Standard Space Marines, it's Stern Guard Veterans, I think is the big one. Yeah. Oh, no, they got Tacticus in the last update, so just kidding. It's not them. They go in drop pods now. Yeah, it's tough for Standard Space Marines, I think. Because they don't really have many good things to go in them. I guess, like, maybe Devastators, but you would almost prefer a Razorback with them if you want to, if you're taking Devastators at all. Which are, like, kind of inefficient. You could just be running, like, fucking Inceptors or something instead. So, Standard Space Marines is difficult. But like I said, if you could take Rhinos with no embarked occupants, you would just take, like, 1 million of them. It'd be amazing. For a while, an Agents of Imperium, you were transporting Rhinos with other Rhinos, yeah, for sure. All right, chat. Well, we've got about 25 minutes before my next live stream is going to start, so I'm going to go ahead and pop off here. But I hope y'all enjoyed this discussion about the new Grotsmas stuff. We saw some real cool innovations. Things like Tactical Brigade coming out for Orks is huge. Orks have been, like, crushing it. I for one welcome our new old Necron overlords with their new Starshatter Arsenal, which seems insane. Not to mention the fact Ultramarines are really good. Genestealer Cult looks really good. Oh, we didn't talk about Black Templars. But it's let's talk about Black Templars real quick, chat. Right before I end the stream here, because I think it's cool. So Black Templars had an interesting event here. Roll dice like a Gretchen in California, 24-player RTT. We got Black Templars winning it. There were Thousand Suns, which was unfortunately not the new Thousand Suns detachment. It was the old Thousand Suns detachment. So that's normal Thousand Suns stuff. And then some Orks, which was running Tactical. A lot of the same combos that we just talked about. Triple Shock Attack Gun Big Mechs. Triple War Bosses this time. So we're rocking those in Breakup Boys units. Interesting spot for Breakup Boys. You can give them, like, charge buffs. They don't really care about any of the other detachment abilities, though. They don't care about strength buffs because they're anti-monster, anti-vehicle. I think we're probably just taking them because they're new. I think Breakup Boys live in that other detachment, Bully Boys, rather than Tactical Brigade. But still interesting to talk about. And then a bunch of tank busters for the big mechs. But we also saw Black Templars do pretty well with Righteous Crusaders. And this is classic Black Templar stuff. Grimaldus, Helbrecht, Judiciary Lieutenant. So the standard boys. Sigismund Seal on the Judiciary. A 20 model Primaris Crusader squad, I imagine for Grimaldus to top into. A double Impulsor, a JPI squad, 2 Gladiator Lancers. I'm interested in these guys. I was actually running one in my Space Marines because I kept expecting to see that Ironstorm list, the Ultramarines Ironstorm list, and I felt I needed AP4 to punch through the 2+ armor saves. And then I have literally never played against it. And I keep playing against mass invuln save stuff, and this Lancer does, like, nothing. Fortunately, the Lancer still has randomly 14 plus an Icarus rocket pod anti-infantry shots. So if you oath a 10-man like light infantry squad, he will just kill it, which is cool. So it's like they never are bad, but they definitely do lose some efficiency if you aren't hitting the high AP enemies. We have an infiltrator squad, a primary double 5-man Primaris Sword Brethren. So we have a spot for both the Judiciary and High Marshal Helbrecht to jump into. I think we combo attack the LT with Helbrecht maybe, so we can get 5 up critical, sustain lethal, and his 5-man unit can go absolutely fucking wild out of an Impulsor. We have a Reaver squad. Hey, cool to see Reavers with their new +1 AP, see some work. Scout squad, and then a Stern Guard veteran unit for some backline shooting too. That lets you, you can kind of use them as a little trading unit where they can go and clear out something that you oathed in the early game before you commit the big bricks of guys. So they can just like, you can be like, oath those little infantry unit. The Stern Guard veteran are like, don't worry, boss, we got it. And then they just hand them like 10 devastating damage. And you call it a day. So the cool thing about the Stern Guard veterans, and I think they actually kind of unlock a lot of play for maybe non-compliant chapters, is that they don't require the +1 to wound like a lot of other sort of Doom Drop units do. So I think that the Stern Guard veteran are in an interesting spot where they're maybe not quite as efficient as something like Inceptors, at least in my opinion. Because they oftentimes require a delivery system, but they also don't really care if you're +1 to wound or not. So you can play them in non-compliant chapters, and they still do exactly the same thing as they do everywhere else, where they're just focusing on devastating damage. And they like the full 10-man average is like 10 to like 12 devastating damage into basically any target. I think the 5-man is almost certainly half that, but they are also probably shooting infantry and stuff rather than big heavy targets. So there you go, chat. Impeccable. His name is Cult of Magic type shit. Yeah, for sure. Do I think they'll ever release a Primaris Rhino? Listen, never say never, because they are addicted to releasing Primaris stuff that is not necessarily required for the game, like for the faction to be well-rounded. Yeah. Let's just gesture broadly at like the 3 almost identical transports that Primaris infantry already have. But I don't believe that they will release a Primaris Rhino. I hope that they've learned their lesson on the Rhino. I like the Impulsor, because I like that it is less efficient, but has more like, accoutrements stapled to the side, right? So they can justify it being more properly costed compared to a Rhino because it has more shooting and more, it's got its dome upgrade, either the like Iron Hail anti-air guns or the shield generator. But it also doesn't carry as many guys. So like I think it's a good happy medium, and I think that that's where they're going to leave it. I wouldn't expect to see a Rhino, but obviously Games Workshop is just like, hey guys, how many heavy weapon intercessor units would you like? We have the plasma ones, we have the missile ones, we have the melta ones. You can take your pick. Now we have a flamer unit for no reason. Cool, dude. Appreciate that. I think they'll make a Gravis Lieutenant. Almost assuredly. Although we have the Apothecary Biologus for now, who basically does the same thing, but is like a little bit sad. All right, chat. Let's hop off. So yes, I will be live in about 20 to 25 minutes. Let me grab the link to my Twitch. We're going to be over on Twitch. I'm going to be playing against a Darren. I'm going to be playing some Chaos Demons in a moment. Primaris Volkite squad would be cool. That would be sick. Yeah, please come hang out with me over there. And also, you're going to be redirected to the Everwinter livestream this Saturday. Please drop a little notification on that one so you can get notified when that event goes live. I'm going to put a ton of work in this week updating all my stream graphics. I have a new, it's in my box here, I have a big new system for the score sheet, which I'm excited to fucking work on. It's going to take a ton of time to set it all up, but I'm ready for it. I'm working with like a new partner who does to do stream scoring stuff, who's created some amazing technology, which I'm super excited about. So hopefully it's going to be a good, I think it's going to be an amazing stream this week. So I'll see you over there for, I'll see you this weekend for that. And I'll be live on Twitch basically every day up until then. So see you there, folks. Remember to keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming and all that. And thanks for joining this Monday Mayhem. And I'll see you momentarily.